morning. In the book, Spiritual Principles for a Prosperous Life, chapter 7, Alice Brown says that leaving our comfort zone allows us to not get stuck in the familiar. When we find ourselves moving through life without thinking and cannot remember moving through the day, week, month, or year, we are leading mindless lives. Comfort zones. From the time we are little children, we begin to plan our future. In our minds, we see ourselves as. And one day we hope that whatever we see will come about. And sometimes our dreams fall into empty thought patterns that surround our heads and never move into reality. That is called living in a comfort zone. When the familiar becomes natural. I remember, 40, 50 years ago, I was stuck. I had a good job. I had a young family. But I felt stuck. But there was something moving in me. The same thing that was moving in me when I was a little boy. As a little boy, my life was very nomadic. The family moved, and every time we moved, my life became traumatic. I was teased, I was taunted, called names. But as I look back on those early days, that the moving helped me to come to a place where I could now realize that everything that happened to me while I was moving helped me to grow in to the kind of person that could stand here today and address you. You see, in every heart there is a dream. But sometimes, we get stuck. We get stuck with fear, self-doubt, low self-worth. We believe that people don't like us, and we begin to act that way. And sometimes what could have been a promise in life becomes a faded life very early in life. I love the Old Testament because when I read the Old Testament and I take it from my own perspective, I see the Bible as man's journey through himself to find himself. It is not until we find who we really are and what we can give to the universe. Until we do that, we will never be happy. We will never be fulfilled. We will always be in trauma, and we will always be looking for closure, and we will be always looking for some external thing to help us get through life. The story of the patriarchs in the Old Testament is an interesting story because it's about movement. It begins when it is written that God said to Abraham, "Get thee away from this country, from your family, and go to a place that I will show you." But his story did not begin there. His story began in a little town called Ur, which is in southern today Iraq. His father had this idea that if he moved to Canaan, he could experience abundance in all good things. So he began to move his family heading towards Canaan. But when he arrived in Syria, northern Syria, in a town called Haran, he settled, meaning some things that he was getting into his life was good. You know how sometimes we have a dream, and because a particular event impacted upon us, we figure this is it. And we sit down. And we sit down for 40, 50 years not moving. And we die, not fulfilling our dream. This is Abraham's father. He died in Syria. And then Abraham was quickened inside and said, you know, my father's life is not my life. What my father had is not what I should have. I need to be more than my father. And he got this urge to move. And the Spirit of God said to him, go to a place that I will show you. In other words, don't predict where you're going to end up. This journey that you're going to journey is a journey to places you have never thought of before. Just go. Take no fear with you from the past. That's your family. Take no contentiousness. Take no deceitfulness. Take nothing negative with you, because our lives are made up of a lot of negative thoughts and thought patterns like fear and worry and doubt. You know how sometimes when you have something personal to do, you tell a friend or you tell a member of the family, say, you can't do that. Why would you want to do that? So can you imagine taking a member of your family with you on a trip that they are not interested in? Can you imagine that? So here comes Abraham. He was told not to take anybody, go by himself. But he took his sister, who became his wife, Sarah, and his cousin, Lot. When we have a dream, the dream is not for anybody else. Don't try to convince anybody that they should come with you. This is a personal trip that leads you to a place that you have never been before. So Abraham got up right away and he left, but he took these two members of the family with him. And they would cause him later on a lot of trouble. When he reached Egypt, his wife, which was his sister, was pretty. So he figured, well, you know, the Pharaoh might decide to take her, so I will say this is my sister, which she was. She was also his wife. So the Pharaoh became interested and, oh wow. And Abraham made some money off of his wife. Then the time came when the Pharaoh found out that it was not his wife. He cast him out. But you know, when he was in Egypt, he realized that the old way of thinking did not work anymore. There are some things when I go to a new place I have to drop. If I take the old habits, the old negative thought patterns, if I take the old conditioning that I have to a new place, I will have the same results. So out of this experience, Abraham changed. Changed because he realized that if I don't adjust, I can't fit in. You see, some of us want to take our old self into new places. And if things don't work out, we blame the new place, not realizing the potential is there in the new place, but the negative thoughts we have prevent us from experiencing the newness and the opportunities that are available to us in the new place. Out of this journey, Abraham learned from the priest of the Most High God, Melchizedek, that tithing, giving of yourself to a principle, is the greatest thing that you can do in your life. Don't just be a taker, but be a giver. Freely you have received, freely give. Abraham, at one point, as he traveled, these people were goat herders and some cattle. They didn't really have cattle. But his flock increased. And his nephew Lot, having deceit in his heart, decided, I can go on my own. He comes to Abraham and says, look, we've grown. My servants and your servants are bickering, meaning that my ways and your ways don't agree anymore. I can't deal with you. You know, sometimes, you lovingly take in someone. Hello now. You feed them. You clothe them. And you make them a child of yours. You will do anything for them. And then what happens? They get big enough, hello now, and they start watching what you have. They start counting your sheep. Hello now. They start counting your sheep and saying, if I had that, my gosh, I'll be good. So he comes to Abraham and says, look, let's divide the flock. And Abraham, a nice guy, he knew that wherever he was, the ability to multiply will always be there. If God did it once, God could do it again. Take whatever you want, Lot. And Lot, like so many of us, took the best. Can you see yourself in Lot? If you can't, you're a hypocrite. Somebody has built up a business. They have allowed you to participate. And in the back rooms and in the dark areas, you throw daggers, man. You wish the person dead. I could put it in another way for you because I want all of us to identify with Lot. When jealousy, deceitfulness begin to rule our life, we seek to condemn even that which has built us up. But he took the best. Those that could multiply and bring forth more multiplication, he took those. And all the little goats that were like this, he left behind. You know yourself. And then, after he left, Abraham says to himself, what the heaven have I done? Am I stupid? And God said to him, I want you to look to the north, and look to the south, look to the east and to the west, and whatever comes up in your mind is yours. See, the power to dream is always with you. Don't let what they have taken from you determine what you will be for the rest of your life. Every day is a new day, is a beginning to live again. And no matter what they take from you, they haven't taken away your ability, which is to think and grow rich. That's the beautiful thing about the human spirit. The human spirit is like a seed. As soon as water and soil appears, it starts to spring forth and grow. And then came his grandson in the name of Jacob. Now Jacob was a tricky one. He was the second part of a twin. And from in his mother's womb he had ideas. Cheating and lying and stealing. So his brother was born first, struggled and fight to come out. And all Jacob did was to hold his brother's heel and slide out. The easy life. Using other people to accomplish your dreams. Anybody like that? Anybody can relate? This is a relationship story about you and yourself. Not about a man called Jacob or a man called anybody. This is about you. All of us have passed there. We've used other people to achieve what we want. But he didn't stop there. He got older and kept practicing and practicing until he became perfect. Concocted a scheme with his mother to steal his brother's birthright. You see, the eldest son became the heir, and the second son was always the one who got whatever the first son would give him. But he decided to use his brain. You see, imagination is a funny thing, you know. You could imagine thoughts of goodness or thoughts of negativity. The power of the mind to dream is endless. You could dream health, sickness. Have you ever dreamed sickness? You get a little sniffle and you feel you're going to die. A little virus that you can't see, you feel going to kill you. And some big people you want to chop down. That's the nature of man. So what happened with Jacob? He stole his brother's birthright and he had to run and run and run. So he went to his uncle, Laban, and on his way he met Laban's second daughter. And she was pretty, and he liked that. He said, "This is my lady." So he goes to the father, he says, "I would like your daughter's hand." They didn't have hand in marriage. They didn't go before a priest. They went into a tent, was consummated, that was the marriage. But the uncle says, "I can't do that. I can't give you my younger daughter when my older daughter will be unwed. My first daughter has to be wed first." Jacob looks at the first daughter, he says, "Not me." But the uncle said, "But in those days, you didn't just have one wife, right? You could have 5 wives and 4 concubines. That's extra wives. All wife. Wife by any other name is still up. You could answer that yourself." So, the uncle said, "Well, you have to work 7 years to get the first one." He did. The uncle said, "You have to work another 7 years to get the second." That's 14 years of your life. But the secret in this story is not the years. is that you will pay for everything you do in your life. And it doesn't matter how long it is. Once you deliberately conspire to cheat, you will pay for it. That's the part of the story that I like. Whatever you sow, you reap. That's so important to learn out of this whole patriotic journey from Iraq to Palestine. This is a journey. And we all journey this journey. We begin one way, and hopefully as we grow and we move, we change. We stop our cheating ways, our stealing ways, and our negative ways. That's what moving from a comfort zone does for us. We meet new people, and we have to practice new ways in order to live amongst the people that we are now with. See, we can't just walk in and hope to change. We've got to change to walk in and feel comfortable. That's the nature of socializing. If we are not willing to make the adjustments within ourselves like Jacob had to do, life is fruitless. You know, some of us walk into situations and say, here I have arrived. It's me. God sent me to deal with you. And what God really meant is that you have so much work to do, these people will fix you. The story continues with Jacob's son, Joseph. Joseph was a dreamer. He would sit down and doodle, put his thumb in his mouth and dream. But he imagined all kinds of stuff. And one day, as he was dreaming, he saw himself, wow, as bigger than the father, the mother, and the brothers, that he was in charge. Woo! You ever had dreams like that? To take over the family business? You ever had lofty dreams? It is good to have lofty dreams. But in Joseph's case, you must not boast. He boasts to his brothers that one day he's going to be bigger than them. Keep your dreams to yourself. So he says in the story that the brothers conspired to kill him. But one said, no, that's our brother. And they sold him to some nomads who were going into Egypt, who sold him into Potiphar's house, and he became a servant. But Joseph was good looking. Nice goatee. Hello now. Hey, hair that wave, because he's Middle Eastern. Wavy hair, not straight hair, was no blonde. Straight hair. Wavy hair, looking good. You ever see a young man looking good? Yes. Don't watch me, please. Looking good. And while he was doing the work in Potiphar's wife saw him. Wow. And you know, sometimes when you see things that look good, you get tempted. Hello now. I'll tell you a little secret. I learned this in the course of my life. Don't blame the men. Any relationship, it's a psychological, physiological stuff. It's the women that pick the men. Man cannot have an affair with a woman unless the woman agrees. Hello now. If she says no, it's right. Let's get that straight. Hello now. keep blaming men. Take responsibility. If you say yes, it means you have invited somebody in your life. The woman said yes. Joseph said no. She tells her husband, that young man that you have in the house there, you accosted me. Oh my God, he said, I don't know. But Joseph stuck with no and he was cast into prison. But it is in prison that he began to see himself for who he was, as a dreamer, an interpreter of dreams, and one who could build dreams. So eventually he solved the riddle of the Pharaoh, and he was made the financial minister of Egypt. Sometimes, to further your dream, you're going to be called upon to take responsibility for your decision making. Everything that happens in your life has a purpose. For you to correct yourself or to emotionally lead yourself further into the paths of unrighteousness. All of us have been tempted. Most of us commit ourselves to the temptation. Anybody hasn't? Put your hand up. Your hand on, quickly. George, I have a story for you when I after silver. The story continues through with Moses. Moses was a murderer. He was brought up in the house of the Pharaoh. But he had, has anybody ever taken you in, but you don't feel one out? Canada took you in, those who migrated. Do you feel a part of Canada? Some of you all still want to join ISIS and blow up Canada. Although Canada has taken you in, you condemn it so much. Hello now. Have you ever ill speak your host? Hello now. That's Moses. He killed an Egyptian to save someone from his tribe who was being beaten. These patriarchs are actually characteristics of our own personal selves that show up from time to time. Moving out of your comfort zone requires that you make a decision to focus on your dream regardless of what's going on around you. You will be tempted, you will be teased, you will be tossed, you will be all kind of stuff happening in your life. But your role is to keep your mind on the dream, for the prize is in the dream. If you falter, you lose. It could be difficult sometimes moving out of your comfort zone. It could be difficult moving away from your family to start a new life in a new land. It happened to me when I was my first year of my 20th decade. I need you to translate it so I give you time in your head. And I was a student in London. I left Trinidad and we went by boat to London. And when we landed in Southampton, something happened to me. It was a breakthrough movement. a movement that stirred my head. I remember as the boat landed, we all came over the deck and we looked down on the pier. And I saw an English man, hello now, with a jacket, it was September, and a tie, with a broom and a shovel, shoveling the pavement. Culture shock. Where I came from, Europeans did not do that. I don't know. And my mind opened up, and something said to me, wherever you are, you have to do what you need to do to get by. Life is not about privilege. Life is about you being creative to earn a living and not depend on anybody. Wherever you are responsible for yourself and for those that you have chosen to bring into this world until they can become independent enough to go on their own. How long should you be a father or mother? Oh my God, that's my children. Last night I babysat. I left Toronto and went to Oakville. 8 hours. Hey, lovingly. You know why? You know why? I had to do it. That's the only reason. I had to do it. So what I'm saying to you, moving out of your comfort zone is moving out of these negative thought patterns that keep you in bondage. Nobody keeps you in bondage but yourself. Nobody ties you to the floor with chains. You tie yourself with all your negative beliefs about yourself. You're not good enough. You are the best thing that God made. Rejoice and celebrate yourself to the point where wake up and start to look at yourself in the mirror and you say, oh my God, you made this, God? God, you really made this? Yes. Yes. You're not God. It starts helping you to see yourself differently, appreciating yourself differently. Sometimes you need to get away from you who's always putting you down and preventing you from developing these talents that you have. You go to some place and somebody recognizes, oh, you could do that. Come. Your family tells you, oh, you again? Since you're a little boy, you have all this stupidness in your head. Get rid of it. And you go to somebody else and somebody says, oh my God, you are so creative and talented, come. This is why sometimes we need to get away. Get away from the conditioning of the past and go to a new place and realize that every human being is a gift that has been given. And a gift is not a gift until the package is opened up and the contents are used. Start using up yourself. Get out of what you say that they say about you. Start saying what you know about you. You are the best thing. And hip hop, hip hop, hip hop. You are the best. Start celebrating yourself for who you really are. Get out of that little box. The box that you have made up with all the things you think people think about you. Not true. You are the greatest thing happening in your life. There's nobody else on the planet Earth as great as you. If you know that, start living it. Every idea of life requires action. If you do nothing about something, it will remain nothing. If you do something about nothing, it becomes something just by doing it. A little seed that you have in your hand, It's just a potential. You are just a potential. And the little seed, man, has to come out of the pot. Hello. Go in somebody's hand, never been there before. And then this person takes a spade and digs a hole and put this seed in the soil, never been there. But if the seed says, oh my God, it's cold and dark, I ain't going none of children, I'm afraid, the seed would rot in the ground. But the seed, when it touches the ground and the moisture enfolds it, something happens. It quickens and it begins in this uncomfortable space to grow. If you're not willing to plant yourself in a strange place, you will remain the same thing that your parents created, a dwarfed little child that may grow up physically but have a dwarf mentality and never amount to anything. Get thee out of this land and go to a place that I will show you. That means you don't guess where you're going. Hello, you're not going to a place physically. You're just going and keep going. That means the dream never dies. Your dream must never die. If your dream dies, you are dead. Because your dream and you are one. If you don't know where you're going, you're already where you're supposed to be. Stop in a zone where no wind blows. You ever been in a job for a long time and your dream keeps coming back? It's like, and every time you swallow it comes back up. And you know you shouldn't be here and doing this. It happened to me about 30 years ago. 30 years ago. Or more, about 35 or 40 years ago. I used to sit in my office at the university and just tell myself, this is not for me. I don't see my life ending this way. And I used to look down this tube. The end of the tube had a gold watch, a plaque, and a piece of paper. He came, he worked, and now he's leaving. I told myself, what good is that? What good is that? Is life worth just being a mechanic? Fixing other people's business? No. Life is about creating a special path. I always remember the day I had an engineer working for me, and she came and she said, Evan, I'm going back to school. I said, good for you, girl. And a smile hit my face. And something says, hey, and why are you staying here? And I remember 2 days after I went to the dean, and I said to the dean, at the end of the semester, I am gone. Hello now. Was it traumatic? Yes, it was. I had a good job. A good friend of mine said, you know, if you were caught in that job with a smoking gun and somebody on the floor, you could not get fired. You deliberately fired yourself. Where you going to get money from? Where's the money coming from? I said, hey man. By that time, my kids were off to university. And I was saying, free at last. They were old enough to know right and wrong. They were old enough to make choices. They didn't have to come and say, Dad, what should I do? No, they could make choices. And I realized this was the time to go. And I remember the first month, I left making a very good salary. And the first month, my pay was $300. And I had to give it back. Because the organization could not afford to give me that, and I take it. I don't know. See, when you know who you are, when you know that your source and your supply is not outside of you, but a spiritual guide inside of you that would lead you to a place where you could find whatever you're looking for, you could tell yourself, wherever I am, I'm abundantly supplied. See, we believe that your dream has to include a house on the bridle path, a Bentley, a Mercedes, and a Chevy in your garage. I don't know. Furniture from, not the brick, divorce. What do you call it? Come on! You understand me? And we believe that every 6 months we should be jet setting. And if that lifestyle doesn't come, we feel that we are a failure. But you know, just meeting a new person and casting off the old people is the greatest gift that you could give to yourself. When you could wake up in the morning doing new things, going to a new restaurant, and stop criticizing the food because it's not from where you came. Hello. Meeting and interacting with people, it doesn't matter what the color of their skin is, the gender. Hello, gender is a big thing for people these days. Everybody is a spiritual being. That's all they are, whether they come as man or woman, they're all right. Young or old, they're all right. It's God in them that is the life that is being lived. Stop judging there. Sometimes our judgment prevents us from experiencing the most beautiful people on the planet. God bless you.